Hi guys, it's Dylan from Bijou Diamond Jewellery in London with another watch video, and today we're taking a look at the 2021 releases. In this video, I'm going to look at the top three brands, which is Rolex, Patek Philippe and Audemars Piguet, and see their kind of top release or their releases for this year. I am also going to take a look at some releases from last year, especially for Audemars Piguet, as they've been releasing some stuff or trickle releasing some stuff since the last release date. So I will include those as well. But yeah, I actually have written this video to start out with Rolex because that's what most people want to know and see what Rolex has done. But actually Rolex has been so pathetic this year that I'm going to skip them and come to them last. I'm going to look actually at who's making change in this industry, and I've given my award of my favorite watch and my favorite brand, and I want to talk about those two first. So for my first award, I'm going to look at my top brand award, and that goes to Audemars Piguet. Not only have they released so many fantastic watches this year, which other brands like Rolex haven't, I want to really recognize how hard they've worked to innovate, making bold moves in their company as well, with Marvel and other things in the collection as well. But really for me, the bigger picture is actually far deeper than that. This year's been an incredibly strange year, and I include 2020 in this. This year's obviously been a real year of change for everyone and reflection for the planet, in fact. And a lot of people are waking up to some changes that need to be made. Not just the planet, but also society as well. And one of the most important things that's happened is Black Lives Matter. And Audemars Piguet is wholeheartedly embracing that movement and moving with it, and actually showing how much they care, not just about watchmaking, but the world and the planet that we live on. And they are innovating in their own marketing and the watch industry, not just in watchmaking, but also how they market watches. The fact that they're one of the only brands, in fact, I think for me, it's the only brand I've ever seen that actually has black models on their website is pretty surprising, and actually a little bit crazy to even say these words out my mouth now in 2021, that that's still the case. So for that reason, I truly respect Audemars Piguet for innovating, moving with the times, and not being stuck, as an old brand. They're 200 years old, but they're still very, very current. And the fact that their prize release this year, which was obviously their Marvel collaboration, the most hype they put around a single watch for a long time, was actually the Black Panther. The first collaboration they did with Marvel was about a black superhero. So that was really, really cool to see as well. The fact that they focus also on women so much more so than many other brands out there. In fact, most other brands out there. I mean, the date justs that we saw this year were pathetic. The Audemars Piguet options that they brought for women were beautiful. The 34mm, which I'll look at in a second, it's an all new automatic watch with a whole new range. We've got loads of other women watches, diamond set watches, so many watches added to the collection. And also they're innovating in terms of concept watches as well, which we don't really see from any brand out there, to see a women's watch concept, a concept women's watch. Most brands are creating these concept watches in men's watches. So it's really cool to see actually that women have their own beautiful model that is a concept. Audemars Piguet, of course, being the only brand to actually move forward with the times and be current. So hats off to Audemars Piguet. I really respect you guys. Moving on to my favorite watch, and my favorite watch award actually goes to Panerai with a really, really cool innovation. And this is what watchmaking and Watches and Wonders is about, is innovating through watchmaking. And for me, Panerai is one of the only brands this year that's done that, along with Audemars Piguet for sure, but definitely Panerai. And that's actually with the eLAB-ID, and that is an amazing watch that is the world's first almost entirely recycled watch. That is incredible to be able to say. Sad that it's taken this many years, but it's fantastic that someone started to do that and set the way and start building that kind of, and make that acceptable in the watch industry. This watch is, to be exact, 98.6% recycled, which is just magical. I'm just going to reel off a couple facts about this watch just so you can see what on the piece is actually recycled. The case is made from a material called eco titanium, which is 80% recycled titanium. The loom on the dial and the hands is actually made from 100% recycled loom, super luminova. And the silicone for the sealing of the movement, so that it's still waterproof, and also the escapement system is 100% recycled silicone as well. The strap is made from recycled plastic, the crystal is made from recycled material as well, other crystals, and also the gold hands are made from recycled material. Truly fantastic to see from Panerai innovating and making change for the world, recognizing what we've all seen in this last year during this lockdown, and all the craziness that's happened. They've obviously gone away and reflected on what's going on, and I think it's beautiful to see. Hats off to them as well as Audemars Piguet. Panerai also offering 3E steel versions of that, which aren't quite as recycled as the titanium variant. That's just over 60% recycled, the steel version, but still great to see. But not only is Panerai innovating with those models there, the steel and the titanium, they're actually also creating a blueprint for other brands and really urging and inviting other brands to come together and create recycled watches, be more green, be more innovative when it comes to the environment, and more respective when it comes to the environment, which is great because the watch industry obviously is a very heavy industry on the environment, not comparative to some industries, but it definitely has its impact with metals and diamonds and mining. So to see brands coming out and trying to find ways to be more green is great. Not only that, but Panerai is actually trying to encourage other brands to join them on this path and help other brands. So those are my two kind of winners that I want to announce for this year for top brand and top watch. Let's take a look now at Audemars Piguet's releases, and we'll move on to Patek and Rolex. Lots and lots of new models from Audemars Piguet, which is fantastic. Again, the best releases, I'd say, of all the brands out there, which is really, really cool. Panerai and Audemars Piguet creating some really cool stuff this year. Again, I'm going to be looking at some stuff that was released last year also. Starting with the code 1159, two new 1159 models released this year in chronograph format, and they feature these fabric straps. Really cool, very smart looking dials, very smart looking watches. Again, won't be the most popular with us or many other retailers, but definitely something to acknowledge. Looking next at the Offshore Diver, we've got three new models here, in the Diver collection, totally new in some respects, and we've got brand new movements in all three of those models. We've also got brand new dials, whole new looks, new straps, and a really cool, interesting new strap and case innovation for Audemars Piguet, which features a push-release strap system, which we've seen on Hublot, but never on a brand of this caliber and this high-end. So it's really cool to see it, made to this level of quality. Great looking watches. I love the grey dial variation on this watch. I think or this series of watches, the Offshore Divers. I think that's a fantastic looking piece, and I love the strap idea there with the button release. I think that's very, very, very cool. Next, moving on to the Oak Offshore. We're going to look at three new models released here as well, all featuring mostly a black ceramic case. We have got some that feature gold bezels, and we've got a couple that were released with ceramic bezels as well. There's a little bit of titanium around the pushers as well. But yeah, really cool looking watches here. Great color combinations. Textured rubber straps which look really interesting. Arabic numeral dials, which is brand new. We've not really seen that on offshores that look like this, so that's very cool as well. I personally prefer index markers, but this looks really cool still nonetheless. Personally, my favorite version here or variant of these three is the green dial variation, or the green version. Moving on to Royal Oak. The biggest announcement for Audemars Piguet and Royal Oak is the fact that they're discontinuing the 15202 ST, aka the extra thin. That's a massive, massive announcement that they made a couple of months ago, or not so long ago in fact, just to basically say that next year we will be discontinuing this watch's last year of production, and we will be giving it a new reference. Of course, the extra thin or jumbo's going nowhere. They're just going to revamp it and give it some new life. I think this is in line with what Patek has done with the 5711, which is what we'll come onto in a moment as well. We've got loads of new extra thin models, one of which, or the kind of biggest version of the new extra thin, is this new platinum extra thin with a green sunburst dial, which just looks absolutely stunning. Very, very cool watch. It's not limited edition, which I thought it would be, but it of course will be produced in limited numbers as with everything else from Audemars Piguet, and the fact that it's a platinum version will mean it's going to be produced in even less numbers. Very cool watch, would love to see that in real life. I think that would be a very cool piece. Loads of new green dial options for Royal Oak as well. We've got a couple on yellow gold and some new flying tourbillon versions as well with the green. Very cool. Lots of brands are looking at green at the moment, which is good because we love green. New chronograph options, which are really beautiful, all rose gold. So we've got rose gold full bracelet and also rose gold with a strap, a leather strap, and that's available on brown and blue dials. And these feature a new flyback chronograph movement and also a clear crystal caseback for the first time ever on a Royal Oak chronograph, which is super cool to see. Next, moving on to a couple more extra thins. We've got some new iced out extra thins, which are really cool, definitely appeal to the ladies audience and also the Asian and Middle Eastern audience, which is very, very nice. They look absolutely beautiful, and it's nice to see factory set diamond watches as well. They are truly works of art. Moving on to the tourbillon watches from the Royal Oak line, flying tourbillons. We've got some new beautiful dials, like I said before, the green. We've also got blue with this kind of interesting pattern. I personally prefer the much cleaner standard kind of petite tapisserie dial that we used to have, or grand tapisserie dial dials that we used to have on the older flying tourbillon watches for Royal Oak. But these are still very cool and interesting looking. I just prefer the older versions. Next, we've got a whole brand new line of 34mm fully automatic Royal Oaks, which is really cool. Definitely appealing to the ladies audience. It's kind of like a midi size or a mid size in between the 31mm and then the 39 extra thin and also the 41 kind of larger size Royal Oak, which is great to see. New concept for ladies as well, concept watch that was released last year. Amazing to see, like I said before, Audemars Piguet innovating for women's watches. And the fact it's a tourbillon with incredible design and it's truly beautiful work of art. Yeah, great to see that Audemars Piguet is looking out for women as well as the men. Another new Royal Oak is the new white gold limited edition 38mm chronograph with the blue dial. Very beautiful watch, limited edition though, so this one will be very, very scarce and very rare. The standard steel 38mm Royal Oak chronographs are incredibly hard to get a hold of, let alone a limited edition. So this one is going to be expensive, or is expensive, and very hard to find. One of the most talked about things around the Audemars Piguet sets of releases was obviously the Black Panther watch, or collaboration with Marvel. And the Black Panther watch is obviously very, very cool. I love the purple and the black combo. I think it's a beautiful watch, obviously produced in limited numbers. It's great to see that they obviously auctioned off that white gold variation for charity at the release, which is fantastic. Great to see Audemars Piguet yet again doing great things for the world. What's really nice to see as well is the fact that they've kept it classy, because you could easily make that look pretty cheap, starting, a collaboration with a very, very high-end luxury watch brand with a comic brand. So we have to make sure, or they've obviously had to make sure, that it still maintains that luxurious feel, which it definitely does. It definitely has kind of a Richard Mille-esque feel to it, which is really cool. So that concludes Audemars Piguet. Loads of amazing watches from Audemars Piguet, which is no surprise because Audemars Piguet always comes with the best stuff. Next we have Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe has produced very little interesting stuff this year, but definitely much better than Rolex, which we'll come on to after Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe has released a couple new Nautilus options, but the biggest change is definitely in the Nautilus line. We got word earlier in the year that they were discontinuing both the white and blue dial 5711 in steel, which was their most popular model in some respects. Both of those, have been replaced by a new green dial, which is very cool. Again, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, innovating with the green dials. The green dials are obviously very popular dials at the moment and very trendy, along with the blue dial, and will be and have been for many years. So it's nice to see. The green dial 5711 is a great looking watch. I can't wait to see that out in the wild and get one for all our clients, because I'm sure they're going to be incredibly popular. Another watch that's been released in the 5711 line is the same steel green dial, but with a diamond bezel, which is really interesting to see. Not sure how popular it will be. I'm sure it will sell over list price, and I'm sure it'll be sold in much lower numbers than the full steel version. But yeah, cool Cool looking watch. Would be interesting to see how that looks in real life. Would love to see them do maybe an emerald version in the future as well. Another new Nautilus in the collection is the 5990 in rose gold with the blue dial. A lovely new release. The 5990 is not the most popular model, but it's nice to see them releasing this now in rose gold with the blue. The rose gold blue dial is something that we've mostly seen from Audemars Piguet, so it's nice to see that from Patek Philippe. Obviously we had that kind of in a way in the bimetal 5990 with the rose gold and steel, and then with the blue dial. So it's nice to see it on a full rose gold watch now from Patek Philippe with the blue dial. So yeah, really nice, welcome addition to the collection. Would be nice to have maybe seen that on maybe on something like a 5712 or 5726 perhaps, but nonetheless a really cool watch. It's just not the most popular model. Another version we've got in the collection, or the final addition to the Nautilus collection, is a fully iced out or fully diamond set 7118, which is the ladies Nautilus, which I'm sure will do really well in the Middle East and also the Far East as well. Moving on to dress watches from Patek Philippe, we've got some lovely new dress watches. Nothing major here though. We've got a really cool new annual calendar, which is the reference 4947, which is a brand new reference. It's not in the nicest looking variation in its first release, but I'm sure in the next year or the year after we're going to get some different variations of this watch, which will look cool. But a really nice, beautiful dial. I don't love the kind of cross-hatched blue dial, material looking dial that we've got. I think once we go for a more plainer dial, it will look much better, but the actual arrangement of the dial is really beautiful on this piece. I don't love the bracelet on this watch either, so it's going to be nice to see Patek release this watch on a strap eventually, which will be really cool. But it's lovely to see a brand new model into the collection. Moving on to Calatrava, which is again not one of the most popular lines in the collection. We've got a new 6119 in rose gold and white gold. Nice watches, very classic, nothing special. Yeah, just nice additions to the collection. And then kind of the most interesting release they've done is the new 5236P, which is a really cool perpetual calendar grand complication watch with inline display, which is really cool looking display. A fantastic way of displaying all the information on the piece. It's extremely clean, very beautiful looking watch, and very Patek. That concludes Patek. Let's move on to Rolex now. So this will be where most people wanted to skip to or hear about what I had to say. Disappointing release from Rolex again this year, but I'm not quite sure why everyone gets excited about Rolex every single year. We seem to always forget that the year before was a disappointing year also, but we get our hopes up that maybe they might change and actually do some innovation and actually design a watch, which they don't seem to want to do. Anyway, it's always lazy and it always will be, but it's Rolex and everyone loves Rolex. So let's keep moving on. Rolex is popular, old models or new models, it doesn't really make a difference really what they release. It's just would be nice to see them innovating and actually creating. This year marks the 50th anniversary for the Explorer, but Rolex didn't decide to release anything particularly special for that. Never mind. The Explorer 2 has a brand new movement, which is the 3285. In fact, no, sorry, it's not a brand new movement. It's the same movement from the GMT. They just put it in the Explorer and called it new. The same movement as GMT, as I said, slightly slimmed down the case, but they haven't publicly released that they've done that. It just looks from the pictures like they have done that. Explorer or Explorer 1, which used to be 39mm, is now only available in 36mm, which is a brand new model in a way, but it's also a nod, which is quite nice, to the original Explorers when it was released, which is good in a way. I like that. And they've also changed the dial back to how it used to look, with the Explorer writing at the top of the dial rather than down the bottom. Personally, I don't like how that looks, as it looks too crowded at the top. The older 39mm dial was much more balanced and for me a much better looking watch overall. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm sure people will really like this 36mm, sorry. I don't see it being as popular as the 39mm that it's replaced, but let's see how it goes. Also available in a bimetal version, a steel and yellow gold variation. Seeing that it's a 50th anniversary for Rolex, for the Explorer seems a bit disappointing that this is all they've done. It would have been cool to maybe have seen an Oyster Flex, an orange Oyster Flex or a black Oyster Flex on the Explorer 2. That could have been an interesting little variation, but never mind. Moving on to Sky Dweller now. We've got 2 new variations here. Again, pretty lazy. All they've done is add the option of a Jubilee bracelet for the Sky Dweller, which is good because it works with that watch for sure. It's only available on the 2-tone version, so the steel and white gold and steel and yellow gold. Not available on the full gold variations, which maybe we might get a Presidential or a Jubilee for them in the future. But it definitely suits the watch with the fluted bezel because obviously it looks like a Datejust. But yeah, lazy update, but it's fine. I'm sure they'll do very, very well, especially the white gold variation. Moving on now to the Datejust. Every single year we get Datejust updates. Most people sort of sweep them under the carpet and brush them away because they're not particularly interesting, and no one really acknowledges Datejust updates because there's one every single year, firstly, and also there's just so many variations of Datejust out there that means that actually a new dial or a new dial doesn't really make much of a difference to the collection. What have we got this year? A couple new dials. The new dials are minor changes. They're kind of pattern dials. There are a few other dials as well, but mainly pattern dials. The most notable one being the new Forest or Lettuce dial is being code named. Not quite sure who would want a lettuce style Rolex, but let's see, perhaps it will be popular. Who knows? We've not had any inquiries or interest in it thus far. It's a very specific looking watch, and whether or not you'd want to wear that lettuce style every single day is up to you. It's quite a bold move, even more so perhaps than one single bold color like the Oyster Perpetuals we saw last year. Moving on to Daytona now, we had some new dials for Daytona, or one new dial for Daytona, which is the Meteorite dial, and that's now available on all 3 gold metals, which is white gold, yellow gold, rose gold, and that's available on both the bracelets and also the Oyster Flex options as well. Interesting dials, nice to see them adding some new dials to the collection, and I think they look really good, especially on the white gold Oyster Flex. I think that looks great. It doesn't look as good, in my opinion, on the coloured golds, the rose and the yellow gold, but I'm sure they'll still do okay. I don't know if it's an effort for Rolex to try and deplete their Meteorite dials even further, or Meteorite supplies even further, because there was talks that they were running out. Who knows? Let's see what the reason is behind this. Perhaps it only lasts 1 or 2 years, and then they'll discontinue this dial. Moving now on to GMT, we've got some minor updates there. Very minor updates, very interesting updates, very strange updates, which is the introduction of, or reintroduction of, the Oyster bracelet, both for the Batman and also the Pepsi, or not a reintroduction for the Pepsi, this is the first time on the Pepsi. But the Oyster Batman was discontinued a couple years ago, so it's weird to see it now back again. Not sure what the thinking is behind that for Rolex, but hey, they've continued on with the Jubilee anyway, so you can buy it on both. I think it's really cool to see the Pepsi available on the Oyster bracelet though. I think that is good to see because I'm sure that will do fantastically well. These are both popular models, so yeah, they'll do good no matter what bracelet they've got. So that's it really for Rolex. Pretty disappointing. Overall, nothing particularly interesting. No discontinued Daytona 40mm replaced by 41mm like most people were thinking. No discontinued green dial, yellow gold Daytona, no discontinued platinum Daytona, no updated dials for Daytona. Very boring releases as always from Rolex, but never mind. I'm hoping that in the future they'll look to innovate. It just feels like they're at least 5, 6, 7 years behind in their updates. It feels like they've already organized and designed the watches for the next 5 years, and they have no kind of interest in changing that. Rolex will sell no matter what they do though, and in some ways it's quite nice to see that they keep that collection very similar. They've respected the Explorers and the origins of the Explorers and kept that the same, rather than changing it too much for the 50th anniversary. They've just realized that actually people love that look and let's stick to it. But yeah, it would be nice to see them, innovating. They are the most powerful watch brand out there. It would be nice to see them following along what Panerai has done with green and looking at being kind to the environment as well, and looking at ways to recycle, because they're the brand of all brands that really would have the ability and funding to do that. But yes, as going back to the beginning of my video, which was meant to be the end, very proud and happy with Audemars Piguet for what they've done with moving forward and innovating and being kind to the world and really being inclusive of everyone in this world, which is a beautiful thing and something that everyone should be doing, not just Audemars Piguet. And obviously a great acknowledgement as well to Panerai as well for not only innovating environmentally and creating an incredible feat of watchmaking, which that is completely an incredible feat of watchmaking, just as Patek's Grand Complications are. That is arguably even more interesting what that Panerai has done with that eco watch there. And I think it's wonderful as well that they've tried to encourage and help other brands to follow suit and not just make it about what Panerai can do. It's actually about what we can all do together. So there are positives within this year's release for sure, and it's nice to see people learning from what's happened this year. Thanks guys for watching, and let us know if you're interested in any of the watches mentioned in this video. We'd be happy to help you out with any of them and happy to call them into stock when we can call any of those into stock. As always, our details are in the end of the video and also in the description. It'd be a pleasure to help you out with anything.